Today is about my mom and, yep, my mother. This one will be imitating and telling a story. I have to tell a story. I was a Girl Scout, weren't we all, at some point? Well, probably not the guys, but anyway, well, especially back then. It was 60s and 70s, so definitely it was just girls as far as being Girl Scouts. That's too much information. Okay, so we were going, I don't know what the event was, but we were going to the Methodist church. The Methodist church. Now, as y'all know, I've explained before, we were uber white Baptist, which meant there was no movement. There was nobody was praising the Lord and calling out or whatever. No clapping. We do not clap in church. Y'all should know that by now, that we are not allowed to clap in church. Don't show, maybe a smile, little smile. Etiquette. Etiquette came first. The preacher, he talked, we sang some songs, and then we left. And we didn't know what those Methodists were going to do. So anyway, of course, it was a dress. That's all they had back then. And a beret. It was a little beret thing that, you had to pin to the top of your head. Yeah. Fun. So I had hair down to my backside almost. And this wig is quite thick. I know I shouldn't complain, but my hair was like a collie's. It was matted up. It was absolutely awful. If you wanted to threaten my life, let's say this. If my mother said, I am going to kill you in 3 different languages. Or, I'm going to throw this book at you. If you duck and you don't let it hit you in the head, I'm going to keep throwing them. Young lady, you better let it hit you in the head. Some of those things, I mean, it might get my attention, but you want to get my attention? You want me to be like, oh, yes, ma'am, and all that, and snap to? Tell me you're going to comb my hair. Yeah, that was punishment, combing that mat. Oh, my goodness. So we're getting me prepared. My mother has to have my hair down and then put the beret up on top with I don't know how many bobby pins to make it stay up in that wig of mine. And so, as especially then, you don't let your head... don't let it snap back. No, that's a good way to get, bam, the back of your head hit with that brush. And I will say, now that hurt. If she pulled back, and let that comb snap, that probably would hurt. But, that I've got so many knots back there, and most of it, absolutely 100% is from my mother or my brother, or self-inflicted. I did have a lot of bike wrecks. But anyway, so I'm getting my... reamed the whole way to this church. I haven't done anything. Have not done anything wrong. This is the pre-reaming, the pre-cussing out, etc. And again, we don't know what they do at that church. So that was another thing in ours. We didn't have anybody that stood up and, was speaking in tongues. I will say that it would have been like a Stepford wife event, at least in our church. All the mothers would have done some little crazy look at the person that decided to do that, and they would have, just blown into oblivion because... Again, no movement, no talking, no, none of that. And again, no clapping, not in the Lord's house. No, we don't do that. No clapping. So we get to the church, and they've lined us up at the front. Now, this event I'm telling you about is one of the worst beatings and cussing out that I ever had. The second one was when the picture was in the paper came back, because I was like, this... I got to go find that picture. I've got it. I did not. It wasn't, smiling. And I'm sure part of it was that my mother was out there going, doing all this, or actually saying things out loud. Hey, Susan, And, I did not dare roll my eyes because I am alive, as you see. But in my head, it was rolling. It had fallen down my spine because I'm like, seriously, she's killing me. So we go on into the church. Oh, that was another thing. I'd already been, don't you sit next to those Smith girls. They are just trash. Don't you sit next to them. And don't you sit next to Cecilia either. All y'all do is just sit and talk. And you're going to get in trouble. And I'm going to tell you what, young lady, you better not be showing out in that church, or you are going to see some showing out whenever we get, are up in there and that's happening. I go to sit down. I know my mother's a few rows back. I didn't dare look back there because that would have been, movement. So the girl next to me says at the very beginning, she goes, pass it down. We're, you know, take your hat off. We're not supposed to wear a hat in church. Now, you know, I can remember hearing something along those lines in my lifetime. So I pass it down, and I don't know if Cecilia told me or one of them trashy Smiths. I don't know. Well, not them. We didn't say them. We said those. But so I proceed to undo all this artwork that my mother has done and needs to come to my hair right now. And so I put it in my lap. Well, I'm going to tell you what. I don't know if there was an event when we were done at that church, but my mother, when we got out those doors and onto that sidewalk, snatched me by my arm and my shoulder and dragged me to that car. I'm sure people were watching. I don't know if the cussing began as we were walking down the steps. And by the way, my mother's favorite cuss word was GD. Now, she said it, I mean, it was with an art. Well, she learned it from her mother, who just, I mean, again, Olympic cussers, just fabulous at it. So anyway, I am thrown into the car. I'm in the back seat. She is just wailing, cussing, you know, all this stuff, you know. You are a lady. You're a lady. Ladies don't take their hats off in church. You know, and now, to my defense, you know, and I am, again, still alive. I did not look at my mother and say, well, you never told me, you know, I didn't say that. Because besides, before my death, I would have heard, well, if Cecilia jumped off a bridge, would you jump off a bridge? But, yeah, I got killed in 3 different languages, beat, and I'm sure that the preacher, again, probably got an earful of that and was probably going, I was Baptist, but, yeah, my mom was feeling the spirit, and, yeah, so was I.